Welcome to Inspiring Women with ADHD. I am Renee Allen, the host of this podcast. I'm kind of stretching while I talk because I'm recording in the morning. So you're getting my first talking in the morning voice, but welcome to the podcast. On today's episode, I am going to talk a bit about being productive. If you are, if you're not, what's going on? Do you ever have a week or a day or a season of your life where you're not getting as much done as you'd like to, or you hoped, or you planned on, or you set out to do? I've been that way this week, I think. Yeah. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking, was that this week or was it last week too? I think it was this week. Last week was a lot better, but sometimes I have a day or two like that or longer. And I try different things to see if I can push past it. And on Sunday morning, I wanted my kitchen to be clean. And I was doing other things. There were a lot of other things to be done too. I was still putting away Christmas, which technically it was put away. But at the end, it's kind of like when you're cleaning out a closet and you almost have it done, but there are some little piles of things on the floor that you need to put in another room or something like that. I don't know, deal with. And you don't have time to do that last part. So you can either leave it there, which I've done before, or you can just throw it all back into a box and put it in the closet and deal with it later. I wish every time I cleaned or organized, I didn't have that left over. Maybe there's a remedy to that and I can learn that and share it with you. But as of now, unless I have time to do it, a lot of times there's that left, because if I do deal with each item, yeah, this is another topic, but if you listen to the podcast that I was a guest on, Connected for Real, it actually, I was supposed to promote it, I think. I think it released this week. I will put a note on my website about that and somewhere else. I don't know. I have to think about that. But that was one thing that we talked about in organizing, is that a common piece of wisdom, a common idea with organizing is only touch it once. So if you pull down that blanket from your closet and you decide, I'm not going to keep this blanket, I'm going to give it to a thrift store, then you put it right in the bag for the thrift store right there, right then. Or if you see that blanket and you think this actually belongs in the linen closet or in another room, you take it to that room right now. And when we were talking, I said that doesn't work as well for women with ADHD, because if you leave the room, you may never come back. You may get distracted. You may forget what you were doing. And so I have to really caution myself with that, because it's really easy to go in another room and just forget that you were doing what you were doing before, or see something else that needs to be done, or see somebody who has a question and you get off task. So I tend to have little piles instead. I do have as many containers as I can, like one for the thrift store, one for trash, one for mailing to my mom, or whatever it is. But there may also be a little pile of this goes in by the paperwork, or this goes up into the attic, or whatever it is. So yeah. So on Sunday morning, we'll get back to that. But yeah, so there's those leftover things. So on Sunday morning, I had the leftover things from putting Christmas away from a few weeks before that had, I think at this point, I was down to 3 boxes of leftover things that my husband put in the boxes before our relatives came the week before. And there were things like tissue paper, a lot of wrapping that I had around Christmas decorations that I didn't pack the Christmas decorations in last time, but I thought, well, I don't want to get rid of it if it's something I might need for something else. Anyway, so yeah, so I had gotten that down to one box worth, but it was still on the floor. The rest had been dealt with, thrown away, whatever. And so on Sunday morning, I see that on the floor, knowing that we had some people coming over a little later. Do I want to work on that? Or do I want to clean the kitchen? Or I want to get ready for what I needed to do for a church because I teach singing to the children at church. So which do I want to do? Well, thankfully, I had worked on the singing stuff on Saturday, which I hardly ever do. So I didn't have that much to do with that. But I kept looking at the kitchen like, you should clean this, you should clean this, you should clean this. You have lots of time, you should clean this. And I couldn't get myself to focus on that because I kept going to the living room and looking at the Christmas stuff and putting some of that away and that sort of thing. At some point, about an hour and a half after being up and looking at the kitchen and thinking I should get it done, I thought, just set a 20-minute timer on the stove or oven or whatever that is, and just see if you can get it clean in 20 minutes. And it wasn't really a challenge. It was just more like a curiosity. Like, maybe you're building this up that it's going to take so long that you don't want to start it. And maybe it's only going to take 20 minutes. So I set the buzzer. And I also had something in my ear, whether it was a podcast or a movie. Oh, I think I was watching a movie. That was in quotes. I was listening to a movie, half looking at it on my laptop to keep me focused on just getting stuff done. So I set the buzzer, and when it went off, I thought, am I cooking something? I wasn't sure what was going on because at first I kind of forgot that I had been cleaning the kitchen. I started unloading the dishwasher. I did it in bits, but I kept doing other things too. So I set the buzzer again, and I thought, give yourself another 20 minutes. Basically, I had to set the buzzer 3 times before my kitchen was clean. 3 times. It took an hour, and the kitchen wasn't that messy. I mean, there have been times that we've had a lot of people over, or the kitchen's, gone too long without being clean. Grandchildren have been over or whatever. And it can take that long or longer. But this wasn't that messy to begin with. So I thought, why was I having a hard time getting as much done as I wanted to? Just waking up and thinking it would be nice if the kitchen was clean. Clean that first. Sometimes I do that. And sometimes I'm successful with it. On Sunday morning, I wasn't. I couldn't get myself to do it. And if you've ever found yourself in that place, why can I not get myself to do this? You can look at maybe some contributing factors. Maybe you're just overwhelmed with a task. Maybe you think it's going to take so much longer than it actually will, which is what is my little method for setting the 20-minute timer. See how much you can get done in 20 minutes. I wasn't super focused on, hurry and do it. Like if you challenge a child, go and see what you can do in 20 minutes or work on your homework for 20 minutes. I wasn't that focused with it. I still had a lot of other things on my mind. And if you have so many things that you need to get done, your brain may have a hard time not prioritizing it, but just, yeah, I guess so. Like if you had a to-do list, what would be at the top? And some people put the most urgent thing at the top. Well, what if they're all equally urgent? They're not super urgent, but it would be nice if they were all done before people came over, before people came to your house, or even you want it just to be like that, right? But if other people are coming over, that is helpful in adding to the urgency. We kind of have a deadline of, yeah, this would be nice to have done or look good and be done. So having too many things to do, too many things on your to-do list, and not a singular focus can be making you go from this to that, to this to that. Work a little bit on this. Well, maybe I should do that. And sometimes even just the method to your madness or the madness to your method. I looked that up last night because I thought, what is that quote? Where did the method to the madness go? I guess it is a method to a madness because it's a method that you have that might look like madness to someone else, but it's from Hamlet. It's from Shakespeare. And so there's some wisdom for it. But you might have a method for cleaning that if you're going to clean your kitchen, you're not just going to simply unload the dishwasher and then load the dishwasher and wash off the counters or sweep or whatever you do. You might see something in the kitchen that needs to be put away, and you don't want to just make a little stack. You're going to put it away. You're not going to walk far out of the room, but you're going to do that. And then when you go over to that, you might see, I should dust this off, or, you might have so many things of trying to perfect an area, if you have that perfectionism aspect of, well, while I'm here, I'm going to take this cloth and I'm going to clean this up. And it might not make sense to other people, but it's more thorough to you. And in order to get it done, you need to do it that way. Do you have any of those? I feel like I'm losing all the people who don't have ADHD because they're probably thinking, what are you talking about? Because my daughter and I have talked about this, that when she cleans and she organizes, and I've mentioned to her before, my oldest daughter and her husband have a very clean, organized house. And it's not because it just magically happens that way. They are constantly putting things away, but they do take time on a Saturday. Today, we're going to go through these bins in the garage. Today, we're going to do this. And they spend time on projects together, which is really great. But because they do it together, my husband and I don't do our projects as much together. So I see his style of cleaning and organizing. I see mine. They're very different. And I feel like we both thrive doing it independently. When we do it together, maybe it's not as hard for him, but when we do it together, I feel pressure because I'm doing it in such a different mode. And, I need my own little la land of brain freedom when I'm trying to get things done. And so I do better just doing it on my own. But anyway, she said when she works on things with her husband, that she can see that her method takes longer. She has all these ways of doing it that it is more complex than his, where he just simply gets it done. Like if he was to put Christmas decorations away, or if my husband was, they would have just put them in the box and put them up in the closet. And that wouldn't have taken very long. Well, it takes some time because you have to wrap up the things that are breakable. But for me, it took over a month because if I'm going to put them away, I want to make sure that I'm not keeping anything that I really don't want anymore, because I'm constantly trying to declutter. And do I really need this anymore? There were some things still in the box that you didn't even put out this year, or you had extra wrapping stuff that you didn't need. Or do I really want to throw away all the tissue paper? Maybe I want to save some, so I have all these things in my mind. Or when I'm putting it away, I may want to clean off the area before I take out the other decor that I've stored. Or I might want to reorganize this cabinet where I was keeping this. I might have a new system. And so I like to evaluate that every time I clean and organize. So the method to my madness, even just with cleaning the kitchen, may take longer than what I think it should take. Or if I just look at that, like I could get that done in 10 minutes maybe. And there may be days that I do. But there might be something that's getting in the way that's making it take longer. And that longer method might be enjoyable for you. Or that might be the only way that you want to approach it. Because when I've taken those 3 boxes, I hope I haven't lost you here, at the different stages of putting my Christmas decorations away, and I end up with these 3 boxes of things that I still have to deal with because people are coming over and we can't have it out in the middle of everything. I have to take it back out. And then that turned into 1 box by Sunday morning. And that 1 box now is still down to 1 box. So I guess it wasn't down to 1 box on Sunday morning because that was on the floor. By the time the people came over, I did put it into the 1 box. I took it out yesterday, and now that 1 box is open, and I've dealt with part of it, but it's still taking a lot of time. And that's okay. That's okay. That's what I'm learning, is that my method may take longer, but if it's completed in a way that is satisfactory and gives me peace for the rest of the year, that's really good, because last year I didn't do that after Christmas. I shoved the last few boxes into a box or 2. And for a while, one of them was just in a trash bag up in a corner of the closet. It drove me crazy to see that, or even to not see that, just to know it was there. So if you have a method and it's taking longer, it might take a lot longer. And, I've mentioned before, Taylor Swift says in that song, we can leave the Christmas lights up till January. Well, I do love a lot of her songs, but I just think That's not like oh, that's so far-fetched to leave them up till January. You should have said February or March or April. But anyway, I did get my Christmas lights put away. So yay. But I don't have that many. I've made that simple. So it's not a big deal. But anyway, back to what other factors might contribute to not getting as much done as you may have set out to do. You might also have a task to do that's just overwhelming. And that can be for a lot of reasons. I've talked about overwhelm on other episodes before. Sometimes the task is something that you really don't know how to do. It's a new thing for you. Let's say you think, I want to start a blog. I've always wanted to have a blog. And it might sound simple, but once you start setting it up, you realize, oh, this isn't as easy as I thought, and you're overwhelmed. And so maybe you take online courses on how to start a blog, or you just do the research part, because the research part and the planning part is a lot easier than the doing part. Raise your hand if you've ever done that with anything. It's a lot easier to look at ideas on Pinterest than to actually make what you see that you've looked up on Pinterest. And sometimes we're just overwhelmed with actually doing it and finding a way that it works for your brain to do it, whether it's in multiple steps or tiny steps or just doing a little bit of it now. Breaking it down into a tiny task, starting small, can be really helpful. Even like I've done with my Christmas closet. I decided I wasn't going to do what I did last year and just end up with a lot of leftovers that I can't deal with, but also can't throw away. And so I decided if it takes me a million little steps, a little small steps, a little bit here and there, that's okay, because at least it'll be done. And that will feel good because that's what I set out to do. And then also maybe you need help with the task. Maybe it's too big for you to do, or maybe it's just that you've built it up to be bigger than you need to. Or maybe you just need to do something that relaxes your brain. Maybe it's something that you know you can do, but you just can't get yourself to do. Maybe putting on some music or something to listen to, an audiobook, a podcast, a TV show that you don't really need to look at, that can relax your brain or technically stimulate your brain enough that you can start working on it without that overwhelm. And then there's also too many distractions. We know about that. And sometimes distractions can't be helped, and sometimes they can. Sometimes you can change where you are, where you set yourself up to get something done. Sometimes you can save it for another time. Sometimes you can eliminate the distractions, identify them, and just kind of recognize what's in your control and what's not. And a lot of times for me, I just have to save tasks that have a lot of distractions that I can't control, either save them for another time, which is hard to do when you have the momentum to get it done, especially if you're in the middle of it. But sometimes you have to just postpone it and be okay with that. And a lot of that is being okay with knowing that you can't get something done right when you want to get it done, or not feeling too much pressure to get it. But what if you really do need to get it done? What if you're taking college courses, or you're younger, you're in high school, you're in middle school, you might be younger and listening to this, and you need to get this done? How do you get yourself to do it if it's taking longer? How do you continue in your course if it's taking so much longer than what you have time for? Sometimes tutoring can be helpful. Sometimes co-working can be helpful. That when you work around other people, I know when I was in high school, sometimes I'd go to my friend Cindy's house and we sit and do homework together. We weren't actually helping each other with the homework necessarily, but we were just working on it together. That was early co-working when no one said what co-working was. Yesterday, I participated in a co-working session. And that's someone that I work with or learned from Liz Wilcox. I don't know if you've ever watched Survivor. She was on Survivor last year, but she has an email marketing business, or she helps people with email marketing. And there's so much more that she teaches. I've learned so much just how to get my online presence business noticed and or done or there. I didn't really know anything. I thought that she was just going to help me figure out a template for my emails when I sent out emails for my yoga classes. And I learned there's just so much more to this, that if you have a website, you want to help people get there or get from there to your email list so you can be in touch with them. And I'm creating a lot of resources for women with ADHD. Right now, they're all free. Eventually, I'll have some that are paid, that are more involved and stuff. But, that may be years to come. Who knows? Like I said before, starting small, one tiny task at a time. It takes a lot to get it done. But who knows? It could be done by, later this year. But what was my point with Liz? Oh, she sent out an email and said, I just thought this might be fun to do a co-working session on YouTube. And she's done that before through Zooms, and we all sit and, she'll talk to us at the beginning, give us a few tips, and we'll all work on whatever we're working on together at the same time on Zoom. And you can see people and everything. But this time she decided to do it on YouTube live. And I saw her email 5 minutes before her co-working session. She was going to do it for 2 hours. And I thought, okay. I was actually going to go up to record the podcast right about then. But I thought, well, if I do that, then, I could miss this opportunity, and maybe I should have done that. But anyway, I went ahead and worked alongside with her, and I did get a lot done. It took me way longer to do what I set out to do. I was redoing the focus journal that I have. That's one of my free resources. And I decided to make it in 2 different colors. And, it's just, how we are sometimes. Those are the other things that get in the way, is we have so many ideas that what we do can take a lot longer. But I made it in pink and blue. Like, that matters to anybody else but me. But it was really helpful because I did stay on task. I did work on just that for 2 hours. So if you have something to do and it is taking a long time, and you're just thinking this is taking too long, sometimes doing it with other people make that not seem like such a chore to work on something for that long, or you don't get distracted as easily, and then maybe it doesn't take you as long as it would have otherwise. Asking for help can also help you get things done quicker. There's some phrase like that, more people help things get done. I have no idea what the quote is, but light hands, something like that. You're probably thinking of it. But yeah, if you have more people helping you move boxes, if you have to move, that is a lot better than doing it on your own, or even bringing in groceries. I think that's why I don't like buying groceries at the store as much as I used to, because I used to call my kids on the way home and say, I'm going to be home from Costco at this time. When I get there, pull in, everyone bring in the groceries, then we'll have the pizza, because I love Costco pizza. And it was so effortless, and it was fun. And now I get home, and a lot of times I'm the only one there, and I'm bringing in the groceries thinking, Sometimes my husband's there, and he'll help me too. But I'd much rather have the Kroger delivery guy bring it to my door. It's a lot easier. But yeah, getting help. Like, even with that, the Kroger delivery guy, he's helping me do something that would have taken a lot longer for me to do on my own. And if there are things that you do during your day, during your week, that you can simplify, that doesn't cost much more or doesn't cost anything more, then maybe look for that help. Even if you're in school going to tutoring sessions, just getting a little step ahead of something so it's not so overwhelming. I don't know if you've ever heard the analogy of the girl playing soccer. I always think of her as being a girl. I don't know if it was a girl, but that this man was watching his daughter play soccer, and she was just always a bit behind the ball. She could never catch up with the ball. She'd almost get there, and then someone else would kick it. She'd almost get there, someone else would kick it. And he thought if she was if she just took a leap, if she just took a leap and got a little bit closer, she'd be right there to the ball. And maybe she was timid. Maybe she was afraid to kick the ball. I don't know. But the analogy is that sometimes it's just something that gives us that leap, and then we're able to accomplish what we need to do, just that extra step. And sometimes that's getting a little more information, understanding it better. For me, if I'm overwhelmed with a task because I really can't, wrap my head around how to do it, then it's hard for me to start. But if I see the steps laid out, if they're written, and then somehow that's written in my head, it's not like I'm going to remember them all, but it just makes sense in my brain, then I know I can do it. And having that sense of confidence can be super, super, super helpful. Another thing that is really helpful for me anyway, and maybe it will be for you, is, and maybe you've done this before, because I feel like we're all pretty, like I know everyone, but I feel if you have ADHD, and especially if you've been, recently diagnosed, not as a 3-year-old, you've found ways to manage your life, even though you didn't know this is what you were dealing with, right? So sometimes whatever method you have or system you have, you're finding this could be easier next time I work on this, or the next time I do this, or even now, if I just made this change, or even if I just had another tool. And an example might be you're working on your computer, and you find that you keep opening tabs and you keep opening tabs. And there's a good reason for that, because you're learning as you go, and maybe what your tabs are referring to is what you're working on. Maybe not. Close the tabs, the shopping tabs, the social media tabs. But if they are relevant to what you're doing, that's good, but it can also be a distraction if you have so many you can't figure out what you're doing. Or if you decide, okay, I need to work on this now, and you don't know what to do with all those tabs. You don't want to get rid of them because you don't want to have to find them again. And I am just starting to learn, and I'm taking a little time to learn this because it's going to help me in the future, is that not only can I bookmark a tab and save it to find later, but I can bookmark all the tabs that are in one window all at once. And I can even put them into a folder. It could be as simple as the folder that says the date that I'm working on it, February 12th, 2025. Or it could be the topic, shopping for Mother's Day gift. And you just put that tab in that folder. And then when you go back to that and you need to focus on that, it's all there. And you can close it again back into that folder, or you could delete it. And I use Google Chrome for my browser, and I have a MacBook. So I'm even learning that I don't have to push the 3 dots and do 3 steps, because that's one of the things that before was stopping me from saving a tab, because I couldn't just do it with one step. I was having to push the 3 dots and do something else. It was like 3 steps. And I thought, that's a lot for my brain to do, especially for 15 tabs or 20 tabs or however many tabs I had open. But now that I could bookmark all tabs, and there are codes, Command D can just bookmark one tab. Command Shift D could do all tabs at once. And it might be different if you don't have a MacBook Air or whatever it is I have. I guess that's what I have. I'm sure it is different if you're using Windows instead, but you can look for that. You can look for that information, spend enough time that you understand it, and maybe even make a Google Doc with that information there. So you remember it, you can go back to it on your own. This is a tool for saving tabs. Anything that might be getting in the way of your ability to get things done might even stop you from getting it done. Sometimes it takes longer. Sometimes it never gets done. Sometimes we just feel like we're a bit scattered because we started on this for a little bit, we started on that for a little bit, and at the end of the day, did I really get anything accomplished? And that's where I want to end today, because even though it's wonderful to work toward our goals and reach our goals and have a sense of order in our homes or be productive at work, I didn't even talk about if you're going to a work setting, because I don't work full time. I do my work from home and I teach yoga. But yeah, that's important to be productive at work too. You have a boss that is expecting, or maybe you are the boss and you have your own goals and you have expectations for your company. So it is important to be productive, but we also have to recognize that we're humans and our brains work in a certain way. And so just some parting thoughts: to embrace the pace that works for you. Embrace it. And if you can find ways to make that pace a little bit faster and more productive, then that's great too. But stressing out about your pace is not going to help at all. And acceptance is important. So if it is not interfering with your ability to keep your job, if you have a job, or interfering with your goals in school. There were times actually in college that I switched my major because I couldn't keep up with a certain major and switched to one that I could. Or I don't know, part of it was impatience too. I didn't want to take the prerequisites for a major. And so I skipped them, which was dumb. They probably were required. And I did well in that organic chemistry class until I didn't, until the information from the prerequisites would have been helpful. But yeah, anyway, that was definitely a tangent. But yeah, just anything that you can do to make it simpler for yourself and support it for yourself. So embracing the pace that works for you, finding ways to improve that if that's needed, and taking the time to find ways like learning about tabs or learning a new method that might be a little bit quicker, and starting small. If the big task looks huge, take a tiny bite out of it, do a tiny task. And sometimes that's all you're going to do that day. And other days you get into this momentum and you think, I can keep going. This is great. What was I thinking? This wasn't so hard, you know? And then also just looking around at the distractions. Is this the best setting for me doing this? Is there something that I could do to minimize the distractions? Sometimes having a journal or a notebook, that's the focus journal that I've been working on. It's just some pages you can print out, or you could do it online. But writing down any thoughts that come up in your mind, any ideas, things that you need to do later. Oh, I can't forget to buy this. I need to get more tape, or whatever it is. You can write those things down so those distractions don't keep coming into your brain and staying there. They can go in, they can go out, they can go in, they can go out, and they're stored for later. Also recognizing that you may have an idea in your head of what needs to be done, and that I need to get this all done today, this week, this month, in January. It's the new year. You don't need to do it all. Just do what you can. Do what you can. Get help if you need it. Hire help, ask for help, or just research to figure out, getting that kind of help. And when you reach the end of your day, or midweek, and you're looking at how have I been doing this week, or the end of the week, usually for me, it's the end of the day, try to look at what you did do. Try to look at what your day was like, even if it wasn't an accomplishment day, a productive day, if it was simply an enjoyable day, or a day to bond with people in your life. Whatever your day was, look at it and see the things that were positive, see the things that did improve, see the things that went well. And if something didn't, that is part of life. Sometimes things don't go like we plan, or things can be hard in life. You could have a day of dealing with difficult things, and recognizing that each day is an opportunity to progress, to learn, to share, to love, to enjoy. And it's not always about what we wake up having to do and what we get done. And I say that as somebody who loves to get things done. I love to accomplish things. And I don't know if you do this, but I recognize that even just, like coming to the end of a cereal box and throwing the packaging away and putting it in the trash can and making a little more space in that cupboard, or finishing off the last of shampoo or toothpaste, for some reason that feels like such an accomplishment to me. Even if I'm not the one that ate the cereal, for some reason that cleaning up, that now I get to bring out a new shampoo bottle. What is that? I don't know. But to me, I'm looking at it like, I know I love to get things done. I know I like to feel productive. For some reason, that even gives me that joy and that spark of, I accomplished something. I don't know why. Or just putting a load of laundry and in the washer and getting it going. And I love that productivity. My husband used to say, when he worked from home for a while, and I'd been home with the kids for years, and he would hear the washer and dryer going, and he said, like he's more sensitive to sounds and stuff. He's like, oh, I'm always hearing the washer on the spin cycle and stuff like that. And so it was distracting to him. And I said, I love the sound of the dishwasher, unless people are over and it's loud, and then I wait. But I love the sound of the dishwasher or the washer and dryer, because to me, it's a sound of productivity. Stuff is getting done. So some of us have that in us, that we like to get things done. We love to feel like things are getting accomplished. We also just have to give ourselves grace when not as much gets done, and be okay with that, and still feel like it was a good day and that we did amazing things. So that is my little advice to you. If you ever get to the end of the day and just think, oh my gosh, still so much to get done, or walk through the day like, try to put on those little blinders like the horse, in the cartoons. Maybe they'd probably do that in real life too. They have those blinders on the side, and just see what needs to be done or what needs to be enjoyed at that moment. If you're with people, don't be thinking about those things to get done. Just breathe in, look at them, enjoy being with them. And that is amazing too. I think that's it for today. I feel good. Like I woke up a little bit just from talking to you. So I got up a little bit earlier to make this podcast before my yoga class. But just a reminder of what I mentioned earlier. I was a guest on a podcast called Connected for Real with Batchen Grossman. I don't know why I rolled my R. Rebbitzin. She is a wife of a rabbi in Israel. And we had so much fun talking to each other. It was a video podcast. It's probably on YouTube too. We did it live I think she had it live on Facebook and LinkedIn. I'm not that familiar with LinkedIn. And if you do end up watching the video, I put some time into my lighting, because I usually record my podcast upstairs with a window, and I even added other lights and stuff. And I thought it was fine. And then during the podcast, the whole time, there was something weird. Well, it wasn't on Zoom, and it wasn't on, it wasn't on a platform that I'm used to controlling how the video looks. And so I put it to just show the background of my room, but it did it blurred. And so I asked her about that right before we went on. She said, oh, just change the setting. And so I changed it, but it didn't change it. So that distracted me. So this is what it's like when you have ADHD and you're on video. So that was a distraction. But then also it made the lighting on my face weird. So if I'm making faces and kind of looking the whole time, maybe nobody else in the world would notice it. My mom said she didn't notice it, but I just looked, the lighting was so weird that I kept feeling, I don't know, that was a distraction for me. But I had a lot of fun talking to her. I just wished, with all the time that I put into my setting, that I could have predicted it a little bit better. I was just kind of, I don't know. But anyway, not like that matters to you. You could just be listening to it on audio. But Connected for Real podcast is the name of her podcast. I don't think she has it on Amazon Music. That's where I tend to listen to my podcasts, because a lot of them won't have commercials if they're on there. But I do like Apple Podcast setup. It's easier to make playlists and stuff. And she is on Apple. She is on Spotify. And it's the most recent podcast. It's number 171. It's called Get Organized with Your Spouse. And this is what she wrote as the description. Renee Allen is an ADHD strategist, wellness expert, yoga teacher, mindset mentor, and podcast host. Rebbitzin Batchin Grossman is a marriage coach for women in business. Join them live. It was live, but it wasn't the day that she put it on the podcast, as they talk about organizing in marriage and how different approaches can strengthen your relationship. And, I have ADHD, so we may have veered from that a bit. We did talk a lot about organization and children because she has 6 children. She might actually have more. You might need to listen for that because she has a baby. I think she has 6, but that might be her 7th. And I have 6 children, but mine aren't children anymore. But anyway, it was super fun to talk to her. And then at the end, my internet went out, so I didn't get to say goodbye. So that's why you get the little preview spoiler on that. But yeah, so her eyes were probably open, like, wait, what happened? But by the time I got back on, she was gone, which was too bad. Stinking internet. But find that podcast if you want to listen to it. It's a lot of fun. It's an hour long. That's how long her podcasts are. She makes one a week. And I think I'll make one more for this week, even though I didn't get a Tuesday one out. I'll have one today and one tomorrow. But thank you so much for being here. And tell any of your friends or family or anyone you think might be interested in this podcast, even if they don't have ADHD, if they need some tips just for getting it together, or feeling support when you don't have it together. That's okay. So yeah, thank you so much for being here. Bye.
Double chins, rubber ducks, squeaky cheese and paper cups, applesauce, Superman, rocket ships and Peter Pan, boogie boards and parachutes and soda cans, jumping jacks and pillowcases for my hands, Donald Duck and fire trucks and Pokemon, Santa Claus and Johnny Depp and Donkey Kong, chocolate chips and zipper zips and 914, little children jumping on the trampoline, model trains and passing lanes and super glue, tangerines and magazines and kangaroo.
Oh yeah. Daily Rock.
Rewind, I've run out of time to sing melodies and harmonies. I'm cut short. The silence of sound has yet been found, but not by me. I buttered my toast, spread on some grape jelly. I don't mean to boast, but I'm a chef and a good one. My grandma can't hear me. The breakfast is done. Ever getting colder, ever older, so I run. Open windows, broken shadows. Frozen dreams are left for tomorrow. Without a cause, no time for a pause. Rewind, I've run out of time to sing melodies and harmonies. I'm cut short. The silence of sound has yet been found, but not by me.